Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. I will be interviewing Craig Sewing. I have also invited a few other top mortgage coach leaders to the call who may be joining us. Also want to unmute folks. Want to make this a super interactive conversation. I want to set the stage with a few slides and a few takeaways. So Marcy, if you could confirm that you can see my slides right now. Or someone. Guys, you could post in comments if you could see them. I'm going to assume that okay, fantastic. So what I want to do, I kicked off this call and I promoted this call as talking about ideas and strategies to help you as the mortgage coach community compete with Zillow, Keller Williams, and let's face it, Redfin's got a mortgage company now too. And while I talk a lot about technology, and we are going to kick off this call for the next 5 minutes about technology, I want to go through what is the formula to win. You know, if you're a referral-based local mortgage professional, it's about technology, but it's also about advice. It's about how you show up in the marketplace. So I recently posted the call that I did a couple days ago where I debriefed on the digital mortgage event. Just because I want to set the stage with just how much technology is driving the space. And then Craig and I together are going to share takeaways and things that you need to do so that you can insulate yourself from all the real estate companies getting into the mortgage space. And let's face it, it's not just real estate companies getting the mortgage space. I hear all the time that loan officers are competing with credit unions, big banks, builder, lenders. And so I think it's important to note that today's mortgage space has made this complete pivot to a race for the best customer experience. And then also we've had the rise of the personal brand, and Craig is going to represent that in just a minute. But when you think of the best customer experience, I think it's important that we all note in the industry, we've got to start with how people find homes. They don't get mortgages because they want mortgages. They get mortgages because they want homes. So the best experience and the most common experience is, hey, they're looking up prices on Zillow. They're finding open houses on Zillow. They're getting rate quotes on Zillow and Redfin. So that is the experience of the family. And now, again, Keller Williams is in the mortgage space. And by the way, that is just getting started. It's in the very, very early stages of the impact that will have. When I posted a recent survey, who is your biggest competition to local mortgage professionals, you know, Quicken was mentioned a lot. Other local lenders was mentioned a lot. Builder lenders were mentioned a lot, and it's just going to increase. So it's super important that as a mortgage professional, you are designing your mortgage practice around like winning before you even get into battle, especially when it comes to conversion. You know, when I wrote the lead conversion playbook, I came up with 13 different strategies, and I did not expect that I would land on one of the key strategies was 5-star reviews and how good a job you do at capturing, posting, and promoting 5-star reviews. I didn't go into that initiative with that as a key concept, but it came up as one of the key concepts. So I want to, before I bring in Craig, and we got Craig, by the way, what's up, Craig Sewing?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, buddy. It's good to have you.
Cool. Glad you can hear me and all the tech is working. So I'm fired up for today. Let's do it.
All right, man. So just a couple more framing thoughts, and then we're going to bring in. I want to make sure everybody in the mortgage coach community is clear on rate shopping is not going to go away. It's going to get easier and easier and easier. More and more people are gonna get rate quotes. You know, one of the takeaways from digital mortgage, one of the executives at B of A said that 47 million families pretty much already have applied for a mortgage. We've got enough data on these families that they're just sitting on a 1003, ready to do a loan. So you've got to change your model. And this is the model of today. You do some lead development, you do some advice, you do a lot of transaction, you do some client for life activity. Here is the model of 2020. Model of 2020, you'll notice a lot less transaction. big data, artificial intelligence is making that transaction faster and easier. Digital mortgage, that means you need to expand your advice. That means you need to have other lead gen strategies. And by the way, for the referral-based local loan officer, that also means you need to have an incredible client for life platform. So there's really only two models going forward. There is this transactional model, which, by the way, everybody thinks Amazon is coming into the space. You're not going to win the transactional model. And there's relational. And one reason why I brought Craig Sewing into the call is because under relational, there's personal brand. And so I'm going to do this call in two parts. I'm going to do one part after Craig goes, really drilling down on after you've built this personal brand, you've got this lead machine, your personal brand is so powerful that it's a magnet to the best realtors in your market. It's a magnet to the best leaders in the local market that you represent, that you're an advisor. So we're going to do that in part two. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute to help me make the case of what it means to have a personal brand. I brought in Craig Sewing. For those of you who don't know Craig, he is the creator of the American Dream Show. He'll talk a little bit about that. Craig is a celebrity in San Diego. I mean, he's turned the fact that I was a loan officer, I started this TV show, I had this radio show, and now I'm a local celebrity in San Diego. And then he's taken that show. Craig, how many markets are you in the country now? Like 24 markets?
26 cities, yeah.
So he's partnered, many of the lenders he's partnering with are MortgageCoach clients like Kelly Zitlow, Rick Scheer, Andy Tuttle, the Churchill crew. But he is partnering in different cities with local lenders to create personal brands within local markets. So Craig, every one of those 26 cities, everybody, there's a lender who's creating a personal brand, and there's 8 to 12 realtors that are creating personal brands and becoming what Craig and I are calling the local, digital mayor in those marketplaces. So Craig, why don't you jump on video if you can and share a little bit about how mortgage professionals should be creating personal brands in today's market.
Can you conversation? I'm at a $10 million listing in San Diego with a top realtor. And the reason I share that is even though you just mentioned stuff about our TV show and the media company that we've built, I want everyone to know my background is in lending. I got into it when I was 21 years old. It's in my DNA. I couldn't tell you much of underwriting guidelines now, but I mean, I've closed every which type of deal through the market crash, been the producing branch manager. So I really, really understand this mortgage space really well. And in launching the American Dream, we've gone to all these cities, 26 of them, and I visit them all at least twice. And we've built an all-star crew of top realtors and one mortgage partner in each. And meeting with these top realtors, these are the best in every city from San Diego up to Seattle, over to New York City, down into several cities in Florida, now Miami, and to Austin, into middle Midwest with Cincinnati and St. Louis. So one thing I can tell you about realtors, they lead the way on the transaction, and I promise you this, they're not great marketers. And right now, their industry is under a tremendous amount of disruption. You have Uber as the number one taxi cab company that doesn't own a car. Airbnb is the number one hotel chain that doesn't have a hotel. Realtors are at the risk of being circumvented by the Redfins and the Zillows and the Purple Bricks. And the reality is there's always going to need to be a human being in the transaction. Those big organizations are going to gain market share, but they're not going to take over the entire market. And so in order to exceed, in order to gain market share, you need to be a great marketer. And that's done in the way of video, social, digital, and relational. And what I truly believe right now, Dave, is that when a market is in disruption, as you're seeing in 2018, and the real estate industry is so overdue for that disruption, the market crashed and they didn't even affect them. The licensing didn't get tougher. They're still 1099. There's still 20,000 realtors per city. They're finally going through that. Who better to be a leader right now in a disrupted market than the mortgage professionals who actually know what it's like to survive a market crash and do what we did in 2008. And I truly believe, as you talk about things like personal brand, it's time for the lender to stop being the vendor. It's time for the lender to stop sitting in the back seat and waiting for these referrals from realtors who are as clueless and confused as anyone. Now's a great time to take the lead on building your brand in your market. And you do that in what I consider to be the greatest opportunity in the history of mankind to build a brand and aggregate attention. And the way you do it is you do it through video, you do it through social, you do it always relationally. And we have created the American Dream as a model for doing that. But even without it, anyone on this call, most of them are obviously not a part of our model, Dave. You can do this stuff today. You can get out there and create video and create content and drive traffic and really build equity in who you are as a professional today for, in many cases, nothing, literally nothing. And so if we're just sitting behind our desk memorizing underwriting guidelines and pushing transactions, you're gonna lose. You're gonna, as you said, Dave, you're gonna get caught in that transactional based business. You've got to be a thought leader. You've got to get out in front of this stuff. And if you can do that, you'll have realtors chasing you, not the other way around. You can drive your own consumer traffic. I truly believe now's the time to take the lead and do that. And it really does start with building that personal brand.
No,
Are we still, can you still hear me okay, Dave? I'm assuming you can't see me, unfortunately.
I can hear you perfectly. Your video is going in and out. You're back on video. I have been, no, put it back on. Yep, there you go. Your video, and we hear you. By the way, that's perfect, Craig.
Don't move. Got it.
Oh, well, you turned off your video again. But guys, I have been showing Craig's Facebook page while he's been talking, because at least we can hear him. We can see you now again.
Okay.
Make sure you follow this Facebook page. I mean, not only are you getting a view into what's happening at the American Dream, but you're seeing how both mortgage professionals and real estate professionals are leveraging video and media to create brand and to connect in their local communities. You know, I don't know who it was the other day, but it was I think it was a realtor. He walked into a local restaurant. He was in Brooklyn, you know, said some things. I can't remember what he said, but, you know, connected in a local way. And he's like, what's up, guys? Guys, that's how you do it. You know, he's on his way to being the digital mayor in that marketplace that he serves. And so, you know, part of what I wanted to do in this call today is, I'm not introducing Craig, because heck, I've interviewed you dating back to when you were a loan officer using MortgageCoach, to when you had a radio show and you were a radio media leader. And then I've interviewed you a couple times around the American Dream. But I just can't help but think how important it is that if you're local, you need to leverage that local market. You need to create content and videos. Now, Craig, I want to say one more thing, and I have some questions for you. I don't think every loan officer is going to be this media leader, you know, and while I do think video is an advantage, I do think when it comes to social media, you would need to at least have a professional presence. Do you need to be a personality and a brand and still do a lot of loans? No, I think you can still do that. I just think it's an opportunity. So Craig, let's do this. I want to close out with you really describing what the American Dream is, because I think it's kind of the peak and epitome of creating a brand. But let's go down to the bottom. You know, what are some things that loan officers, MortgageCoach community people could do that would just be base hits? You know, what are some thoughts?
So a couple things, Dave. Look, I'm going to say it again. You can't gain market share if you're not a great marketer. Now, that can be done in a variety of ways. You don't have to be this huge media personality to get started. And I think the hardest part for most people is to get started. Let me give you a good example from my meeting with Gary Vaynerchuk in New York City. We were meeting at the top of New York City, high rise. Gary is now, he's on top of 800 people. He's a legitimate CEO and a great speaker. And he's really coined that phrase, being that digital mayor of your market. The one thing he and his team kept saying over and over and over again is, you see the way I'm holding my phone right here, if you guys can actually see me? This is how Gary Vaynerchuk started Wine Library. This is how he turned a $3 million business into a $60 million business. This is how he became the CEO of VaynerMedia. It was simply a flip cam and consistency. And that's, I think, the hardest part for anyone is we're worried about what we look like on camera. Are we going to say what's perfect? Like, you just have to get out and do it. Things that are uncomfortable, growth comes from discomfort. You know these things are important. You know things like video and digital and social are important. And we can't romanticize about how it used to be. We got to know how it is and where it's going. And these are just key ingredients. So my advice to anyone is just get started. Get started doing these things. Get started being that thought leader. And the things that are uncomfortable for you, people ask me all the time, like, how do you get comfortable on camera? I think what makes you uncomfortable is because you're in between your own ears. You're overthinking things. You're wondering how you look, you feel. No one cares. So I always advise of really two things. One, get out of your head and get into your heart. Two, make it about the other person, not you. Make it towards the person that you're speaking to. Those are two very simple things that I think can help anyone get out in the way of doing video. If you have good intentions, if it's from your heart and if you're doing it to be a great advisor and you're really proud of what you do and how you help people accomplish their American dream of homeownership, what's to keep you from sharing that message with more people to be able to see it? So my advice to anyone who is hearing our message here and just starting to get involved with this is stay consistent and just get out there and do it. And you'll be surprised at how much traction you can gain. Now, with Gary, he went from just doing the flip cam to Wine Library to blowing up to being the CEO of VaynerMedia. Now, Dave, as you preface this with, Craig, not everybody's going to be a media personality. I totally get that. Naturally, I'm actually an introvert. I started doing these things in 2009 with radio, not because I wanted to be a media personality, because I knew it was good for mortgage. And as it evolved to a daily show and a TV show, and then now Ignite Media and the American Dream, it's just one thing led to another. For you on this call, we're not trying to teach you how to be huge media personalities, but what we are trying to do is get you out of the starting blocks, start building momentum, getting some wins, even if they're small wins, or as Dave put it, singles and doubles. These are the right activities that there's no debating that everyone should be doing right now. And if you get started, you gain traction, it could be 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, you're going to be building equity in that whole message that Dave asked me to speak to today, which is your personal brand. And the key ingredient in all of it is to be authentic. If over manufacturing, feeling you got to have perfect videos or anything like that, just getting out and being yourself, I think, is the most important thing for anybody at any phase in whatever cycle of video or media that you're involved with. Being authentic is really a key ingredient. I'll steal a Gary Vee line here. People's bullshit meter is at an all-time high. And so being real, being you don't have to get out of your comfort zone. Just be who you're proud to be and just throw a video in front of you and start posting that stuff out there.
So I want to share my screen one more time. Well, I don't know if it'll be the last time, but another time, because I want to make another point right now. So the picture you're seeing on my screen right now is a top loan officer in the Seattle market meeting with a family. And let's face it, if you are a local mortgage professional, the ultimate experience you can have with a family is getting in person with them. Delivering advice. Again, in the second half of this show, we'll talk about how to leverage technology to deliver advice, because I really do feel like the two things you need to do to compete in the future world is have a personal brand that's right for you and deliver advice that's tangible and value, both at the point of sale and into client for life, tangible advice. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and stop sharing this picture, because now I want to share a few more base hits and I want to riff with you a little bit more, Craig. So some examples of how you can all get started, and I do believe every loan officer should do this, is when you deliver the mortgage options to the family, whether it's a pre-qual, add a video. And remember, you're just adding that video for a husband and wife and whoever's making that decision. That's like, using video and using modern media 101. Also, think about some agents that you're trying to get to that you haven't been able to get to, where you could add a video via text or a video via Facebook Messenger, where you're just trying to get through the clutter. And like, John, I'm trying to get to you. Authentic individual messages. Think about the videos and the messages you can create for one prospect, one customer, and that is like 101. So Craig, what are some other ideas that are just call it those 101 strategies versus, the big show?
Yeah, you know what I really, really love right now? Again, mindset's important. Don't think of yourself any longer as a vendor that's just waiting on referrals. Take a leadership role. I genuinely believe that the mortgage professional is the most intelligent, hardest working professional in the transaction. Without you, the deal doesn't happen. And we got to stop sitting in the back seat, not providing that knowledge out to the world and relying on realtors to do it for us. And so how do we do that? How do we become those thought leaders? There's a lot of different ways to do that. But one thing I really love right now, we've already hit video on the head. That to me is an obvious one that you just got to get used to. I love Facebook community pages, partner pages. I don't know how much you've spoken to this in the past with your community, but Dave, I can tell you, I've done it in a lot of things we have going on, and I've seen other professionals doing it. And the reason I like it so much is so you have this world now where there's so much connectivity and there's so much noise, and some people are nauseous about social media and things like that, which you should be. There's a lot of nauseating stuff on there. You should just unfollow those people. But there's all this connectivity and noise, and like, where do you start? Like, how do you separate yourself? So we understand that connectivity is an opportunity, but we also don't want to get lost in the noise of it. So like, where do we find our sweet spot? Forming a Facebook partner page or a group page where you're inviting people that are like-minded of communities into it for like private conversation is a way to take this huge ecosystem and like bring it down into a world that is personal to you. For example, if I'm in a community, we talk about being the digital mayor of your market. Let's say, there's San Diego, but then there's Coronado or there's downtown. Having a group page where you only invite top producing realtors, influencers, people that are just known to your downtown market where maybe you do a lot of lending business. Be the community leader in that Facebook partner page and invite people into it and drop value in there. New things happening, new initiatives, interviews. I know people that have built businesses out of Facebook partner pages simply by adding coaching and value. I mean, imagine doing little interviews like this with a thought leader in your hyper-local market in a group that you've created that you invite people strategically to, and you're just dropping value.
I would love at this point, if you're on this call and you are building your personal brand, whatever that means to you, there's no wrong answers to this. Let us know what you're doing. I am going to share some more ideas. I love the idea that you just shared in terms of interviewing local thought leaders or local business owners. I am sharing my screen again, just because one of the missions I'm on right now is to help and teach loan officers to go from transactional loan officer to a loan to being, a mortgage coach. I deliver mortgage strategies. So I'm going to close out with a story on Josh Metal, who I interviewed and did an incredible mortgage strategy on, just because I think he epitomizes. He's building a local brand. He's got a niche. He specializes in doctors, and he's an extraordinary advisor. But I want to mention Jonathan McKinnis. He's in South Bend, Indiana. Not a top 50 city, not a top 100 city. I don't know where it ranks, but it's a pretty small city. And not only is he delivering an amazing mortgage experience, he's going around and interviewing local store owners. Follow him on Facebook. Just a great example of a humble, hungry, and smart mortgage professional in a smaller market, South Bend, Indiana, who is delivering advice, killing it with 5-star reviews, killing it, creating media that's relevant to the local market that he's in. So again, if you're on this call right now and you are doing something to build your personal brand, share it in comments. I'm going to look out for it. Craig, any other base hits or any other thoughts as I'm looking for some feedback from the audience?
Well, I think what you just said about Jonathan in South Bend is a great example. What really registered with me is that he's out there interviewing business owners. Now, traditionally, years ago, everyone was relying on the realtors be out there creating these conversations, to be doing these marketing strategies. And what he's done, and I see a lot of realtors starting to do this stuff. There's a guy in San Diego who does East County Eats, and he goes into different restaurants. Now, this is a realtor. We have a realtor who does a show called Rise Up Radio here in San Diego, and he partnered with a mortgage professional named James Carmody here, who's doing a great job interviewing people who are thought leaders in the community. I just feel like it's time for the lender to leapfrog the realtor as the lead marketer. As Gary Vee puts it, be a media company, comma, a realtor, be a media company, comma, a mortgage professional. And what Jonathan is doing in South Bend is he's not sitting around and waiting for these things to come to him. He's out there creating. And these are the things that realtors are being trained to do at their coaching calls and their conferences. Why not do it ourselves? Why not be the person involved in the transaction who's creating the buzz, who's known for something, who has a brand? And so I just love what he's doing, because he's not sitting around waiting for somebody, for specifically the realtor, to do it for him. He's taking the lead. And that to me is a big message I'm going to have at Duncan's event here in a couple of weeks, is that it's time to stop feeling like vendors. It's time to really start getting out into our communities, creating the conversations, interviewing the thought leaders. And you can do it with video, you can do it with podcasts, you can create the communities that I spoke with on like the Facebook partner page. Be that guy. Be the person that people talk about for something. And that's what personal brand is, in my opinion. I know the content of context of what this call is here today. So what Jonathan's doing is awesome.
Okay, so Craig, your connection, like we heard everything you said, but it was a little choppy. So one, I do think you might want to stop sharing the video, just so you're not trying to stream video and audio. So at least the sound when you talk is a little bit better. I am seeing ideas from the community, ranging from I'm doing a podcast. So great job to anyone that's doing that. I am looking for some success stories of mortgage professionals that are doing some podcasts and creating brands. So if you're doing that, let me know. I am seeing a number of people saying that I am doing local interviews. I mean, obviously I'm adding a total cost analysis video is a massive strategy that all kinds of folks are doing. So I'm seeing a lot of movement there. Dan Keller is texting me saying he's listening to this call, is loving it. He's going to jump in a few minutes. Craig, I know you're going to be speaking at Sales Mastery in a couple of weeks. If you could just share a little bit about what you're going to talk about from stage at Sales Mastery.
That are doing the podcasts out there, don't forget, a podcast is audio. If you're doing that with a realtor or a thought leader, also take behind the scenes photos, give them good pictures to go along so they can market it. Do a Facebook Live attached to that. Create little videos along with your podcast. Let that one pillar piece of media turn into several pieces of media that you can repurpose and that you can give to whoever you're interviewing, whether it's a realtor or thought leader, whoever it may be. That collateral you're providing them is something of value, and you're diversifying it from podcasts into several things. So one thing can equal five things. As far as, I think your question, Dave, was, what do I plan to speak to at Sales Mastery?
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about what my career path has turned into, the truth is I've been traveling the entire country for the last couple of years, meeting with the most influential, top producing realtors and people involved in the space for a couple of years. And the one thing that I've learned is realtors really aren't great marketers. They're positioned in the deal as the lead marketer. They're positioned in the deal as the professional that's driving the consumer, and then they're referring it to the lender. And what the realtor doesn't know, and they're starting to learn, the average commission is down to 5.2%. The purple bricks, the red fins, they're coming for them. And they're starting to experience what that chaos feels like. I don't feel like there's anybody better to be a leader right now in the real estate industry through this chaos, through this disruption, than the people that have been through it in 2008 and survived and gained market share. It's time to stop thinking like vendors. It's time to stop waiting for referrals. Granted, build relationships, get referrals. I'm not saying don't do any of that, but it's time to take a lead role in how the mortgage industry is positioned in the industry, in the transaction. You're the smartest guy or gal on the deal. You're the hardest working. You're the least paid when it comes to how the margins work. The reality is there's nothing to keep you from taking a lead role in your marketplace. And there's so many tools and resources to do it now that never existed. So even though I'm going around the country and I'm meeting the best of the best, the top producers, and they should be great marketers. You can't really be great as a realtor if you're not a great marketer. They don't have half the knowledge, tools, and resources that the mortgage industry does, especially those tied into MortgageCoach and calls like this. For me, my big message is take the lead.
Sharing a slide from Digital Mortgage right now. Anthony Shea, CEO of Loan Depot, shared two things that really align with what Craig is saying right now. And that's one, there's a lot of people coming into this space. You know, in this slide right here, it talked about just, you know, we not only have big banks, we not only have real estate companies, we've got disruptors, we've got a lot of new players. But the truth of the matter is that it's never been a better time for the mortgage pro, because it used to be that the realtor owned the buyer, and now the buyer owns all of their decisions. And to Craig's point, one, we have more information on that family than any other professional because we have both sides of their balance sheet. So we've got assets and liabilities. To Craig's point, we are, again, not bragging, I think we are the smartest when it comes to representing the family. Most of the top lenders are the best lead aggregators, you know, so in terms of managing and using their CRM, we are the best, which, by the way, I can only say that about top producers. Like the best loan officers I interview, they use their CRM daily. They deliver consistent experience, educational experience at the point of sale. So the best loan officers are just so well positioned to really lead out of this disruption. And when you look at this convergence of digital, what do families want to do digitally? And by the way, our industry in the purchase transaction, what do we need to do locally? Home inspections, home warranties, escrow, appraisal, you know, so many things need to be done on a local level. And let's face it, you know, maybe 10 years from now, a generation from now, people will want to do business with robots, but at least for the foreseeable future, people want to do business with people. By the way, they want to do people who they know, trust, and that's why I'm promoting this personal brand. You've got to be intentional. Whether you're going to have a big brand and have a show, like a Craig Sewing, by the way, like a Dan Keller, you know, where some of the best people at creating content and personal brand, or whether you just want to have a very humble and moderate personal brand where you've got a professional LinkedIn, professional Facebook, you're creating videos for your families. You gotta be intentional around this. So, hey, Dan, I'm not sure when you jumped in and what you've heard so far, but I am making the case that if the loan officer of the future wants to compete with all the disruptors that are getting in the space, and especially the Keller Williams Mortgage, you know, Zillow Mortgage, they need to, one, have a personal brand that's intentional and as big and impactful as they can. And then two, they need to deliver tangible advice. You know, they need to use MortgageCoach. They need to deliver advice that's tangible and obvious. Any thoughts that you have?
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me? Just double check on audio.
Yeah, we hear you perfectly.
Good. Okay, good. Yeah, no, I was listening to the call. I've got a long day today. So I'm hitting the gym right now this morning at 9, and then I'll be working till about 9 o'clock at night. So killer call. Craig's incredible. And what you're sharing is super, super relevant right now. I think I commented in the MortgageCoach community this morning. Bill Hart, Coach Bill Hart posted something, you know, it's Q4. What are you doing right now to wrap up a great year? And my comment was, you know, I was prepping for Q4 in Q2. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm dialing in marketing systems for, you know, Q1 of next year. Part of that is increasing and just upping my game with video. I've hired Craig. I mean, I'm partnering up with Craig Sewing, which is just I believe gonna take my video marketing to another level. I'm working on my closing skills. I'm working on giving a better mortgage planning presentation. Big part of that is MortgageCoach. Every borrower gets a MortgageCoach TCA. You know, Dave, one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on the call, I have to share a success story with you real quick. In 2012, March of 2012, I did a total cost analysis for an attorney, a young family buying their first home. And he came to me, he was referred to me by another attorney, and he was considering buying a house using the FHA. I put together a TCA where I did a FHA loan, I did a conventional 3% down, and a Fannie Mae 5% down loan. He went with the 5% down loan, bought the house for $368,000. He called me last week. They're prepping to list the house that I did the mortgage for $780, bought it for $360, using the 5% down option versus FHA. It was a lower cost option. And we were just talking in a mortgage planning meeting yesterday. One, why he reached back out to me, and he said he gets my weekly video emails. I've stayed in touch with him. But two, he's like, there's no other person I trust with my finances. The amount of content that you create online, the amount of content that you send me, the mortgage planning report that you made for me. He goes, Dan, I don't know if you know how much money you saved me by putting me in that Fannie Mae loan versus FHA. And I said, actually, I do. Here's the report right here. And I showed him. And it was just incredible, Dave. So I just wanted to give that testimony. By the way, they're selling their house and they're buying a $1.2 million house in North Seattle. So all stayed in touch using video, but it all started in March of 2012 with a TCA.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, that is the playbook. Most realtors aren't doing that. Most loan officers aren't doing that. If you are, you do not have to worry about Amazon Mortgage. You do not have to worry about Keller Williams Mortgage. You know, by the way, are you going to lose some loans? Yes. Are you going to get everybody? No. But are you going to have a great career in this space? Again, do those two things. Intentional about your personal brand. Make your advice tangible and valuable. I'm going to close with showing what that looks like. And I really just can't emphasize enough the project I'm working on right now called the Mortgage Strategies Playlist. I don't care whether you're the best, you're killing it, you're doing over 100 million in volume. I don't care whether you're doing 200 million a year in volume, you'll get value. And if you're new in the business and you actually learn how to deliver mortgage strategies versus rate quotes and pre-approvals, you will skyrocket your business and you will Amazon-proof your business. Craig, I really appreciate how much time you've taken on the road, and I want to make sure you can check out of this meeting anytime, but any closing thoughts from you?
Well, I want to apologize for any tech issues that I've had out here at this pad. I don't know if you've been able to see it at all, but I don't think anything better illustrates what we're talking about, the fact that I'm sitting here with a top realtor and we're going to do a video of his listing. Now, this pertains to the show, but even if it wasn't a show, this is smart to capture these types of things and be an asset if you're in mortgage. Our mortgage guy is right over here as well, that's in San Diego. But my closing thoughts are this. Disruption creates opportunity. There's no doubt about it. The industry is going through a lot right now. And you mentioned, Dave, a moment ago, you might lose a deal or two. But guess what? So is everybody. Everybody's losing deals. People are going to get knocked out of the business. In that disruption, there's an opportunity to gain the business that other people are losing. And if you're exercising strategies like Dan just described, I mean, that's brilliant to be able to say to someone, you don't even know how much you saved me. And it's actually like, yeah, I have a report. It was the total cost analysis. And here you are 6 years later, and you can actually demonstrate that. That guy's going to be a raving fan of his and refer him to other people. I mean, that's tangible benefit. That's different than just being, you know, an easy way to create a transaction with the Amazons or the Zillows or whatever else is coming down the chute. But I also want to just really encourage everybody here to not feel like you have to sit in the backseat and wait on referrals anymore. The idea of building a personal brand, that doesn't mean making yourself out to be something you're not or putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. Don't feel like you got to step into some framework of what people might think a personal brand is. Take who you are and just frame it and get it out there more and be more willing to share it with the world. If you're really analytical and about all the numbers, then be the smartest guy in your videos. If you're a comedian type and you're funny and you got one of those personalities, then bring that flavor to it. But it all comes down to being yourself. And I think the hardest part for so many people is A, getting out of the gates, and B, staying consistent. Just make the commitment to do that. And if you do, it really is a great opportunity right now. So for all the things happening, all the fears, those are normal. That's never going to go away. Take this disruption as an opportunity. Become great marketers. That's done in the way of video, social, digital, and always, always, always relational. So that's my close here, Dave.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Craig. Feel free to jump anytime. Dan, as long as you can stay on the call, would love to have you go through this with me. I am going to transition the call now, a little bit off of personal brand. I think we've We've made the case. We've shared some tactics and ideas. Highly recommend that you follow Craig. He is just a kind of at the peak of the mountain, not only what he has done in San Diego, but then how he's partnering with leaders like Dan in local markets and creating content. It's just something y'all should follow. So now you can see my screen, because to me, the other, call it key pendulum to being that, Amazon-proof business, that Keller Williams mortgage, who cares business, is to be able to deliver mortgage strategies. So I'm going to close with Dan's, but I want to start with Josh Metal. And I interviewed Josh over the weekend. We did a scenario where he had a first-time home buyer that, get this, was shopping him with 7 different lenders. So, what? You've got 7 different lenders. I know a lot of loan officers that just would have said, no, thank you. Good luck, not returning that phone call. My takeaways in this interview were, one, here's a guy that has a team that is going to close over 1,000 units this year. It did like 850 last year. And so, he's killing it. He's a multimillionaire. He owns, you can listen to one of the interviews I did with him. I can't remember, some ridiculous amount of real estate. And when you listen to him talk about how he won this first-time home buyer loan, where he's competing with 7 lenders, it was like it was so fun. He enjoyed himself. So because he's got that humble, hungry, and he's super smart, I want you to take away that attitude. Also, Josh, he's got a personal brand. By the way, you'll notice that it's always a picture of his family. Everything he does, and I'm not here to say that everybody on this call, it needs to be a picture of your family. That's Josh Metal's brand. That's how he rolls. However you roll, be intentional. He's showing up with his brand. If you Google Josh Metal on Google, you'll find out that he niches around doctor's loans. So he's got a niche. He's intentional about his brand. And if you listen to this interview, it'll be very clear how he won this loan. He provided strategy number 1, which every loan officer would do with MI. He provided strategy number 2, which probably every other loan officer would do, no MI. He provided strategy number 3, let's buy out the MI. And then he provided strategy number 4, and it was a rate buy down, And so I'm not going to go through this scenario in detail, because I want you guys to listen to the interview. But I hope a takeaway from today's call is get a little more intentional about my personal brand, and get a whole lot more intentional around mortgage strategies. So Dan Keller, we got 12 minutes left. You actually were my very first interview when I did these mortgage strategies, and then we did a follow-up with the move up, which I wanna just kind of walk through one of these. Which one do you think would be a better one to walk through right now?
Which ones do you have right in front of you?
Can't hear you, Dan.
Are you there?
Well, I'll just pull up the move up.
Yeah.
So by the way, just to let you know how this works, it's a playlist, move up, and within the move up down below, there's an actual link to the total cost analysis. So every super successful mortgage coach advisor, but every single one of these also includes, an actual TCA. So like Giuseppe, Giuseppe is actually, with Social Survey, he has the highest reviews of anybody else in the country. He's got 587 online reviews with an average score of 4.9, craziness. And we got a sample of his TCA. So again, this is the playbook. This is the place where if you guys want to learn how to kill it, check it out. So Dan, if you could just give a little bit of a walkthrough. I noticed, you're pretty intentional about your brand. You've always got kind of a certain picture and a certain way that you show up in a mortgage coach report, and then you've got a different way that you show up in different places. Obviously today you're just showing up, getting ready to go to the gym. Walk us through this scenario, and also try to align it around how you're delivering advice, but you're also integrating your personal brand.
Yeah. So can you hear me okay right now?
We hear you, man.
All right. So this particular, I'm having a hard time seeing this on my screen. Which one? Let me see this real quick. So
It was,
600, 610.
yeah.
This was last weekend, man. This is the one where, I met with these guys were shopping me really hard with, they're buying new construction with Polygon Homes, and they've got their own bank, their own mortgage company. And what I did is I sat down with these guys, and they have a house to sell, and they were really worried. I found out their pain, their number one pain was MI. They did not want to pay private mortgage insurance. And so this report essentially is just showing them, if they were to purchase at 610, at 620, at 630, her magic number, the wife's magic number for a monthly payment without escrows was $2,300 a month. The other mortgage professional at Polygon Homes, all they offered was a $4,000 lender credit. So, so basically, what I ended up doing, hold on real quick, I need to move, someone's trying to park. What I ended up doing was I focused on what they were looking to achieve. It was really easy, $2,300 a month, providing clarity around that, giving them options if their house were to not sell and they were to have to put down a little bit less, and then coming to terms on a purchase price. The realtor reached out to me in advance and was like, hey man, I'm having a hard time getting them to ink this. Long story short, you guys, the $4,000 lender credit from Polygon Homes wasn't enough to encourage them to go with Polygon. They're under contract with us right now. And it was because of a TCA report and the time. I mean, I spent about an hour and 15 minutes with them, to walk them through this. But that's just one of the many examples, Dave.
Yeah, well, again, it's just you leverage, your local market. You met with them, you delivered them advice, you listened to them, you did it all right. And to me, that is the magic key to competing with all the new players and disruptors in the space. So Dan, if you need to jump, no worries. Anything else you want to share with the Mortgage Coach community as I go into wrap up mode?
Yeah, I just want to share this. You made a great comment about Josh Metal. And, I think one of the reasons why he was able to take on a lion in regards to a client, hey, I'm interviewing 7 lenders. I'm not sure it's worth your time. The reason why he was able to take that on, and the reason why I embraced that, I just did the same, not 7, people were interviewing 3 yesterday, is one, Josh knows, and I know, a mortgage coach loan officer knows how much value that we bring, and that using us without a doubt is the best option in the marketplace, period. And so when you have that mindset going into a sales process, it's pretty easy to sell value. And then 2, you got to have walkaway power. You got to know that it's okay. Like Josh didn't have that deal. My mindset yesterday talking to this borrower, I don't have this deal. It's not mine to lose. I've got everything to gain by giving it my best, but I've got nothing to lose. It's not mine yet. They haven't taken app. And so I think it's just mindset going into this, knowing how much value that we have, knowing that and believing this and getting this message across to the borrowers that we are your best option. This report, this information, my experience, my team, my platform at the company that I'm with is the best option for you right now. It gives you the best shot of making an educated home buying decision and giving you the best chance at a great home buying experience. And that's all I said to the person yesterday. Honestly, I just, she blew me off. It was a buyer lead from one of my realtors who was working an open house. And it was a nice open house. So I knew it potentially was going to be a good loan. And she wanted nothing to do with me. I sent her the information, my concierge page, and I followed up with her again yesterday. And she kind of blew me off. She's like, I'm interviewing people right now. And I said, great. I said that the only thing I asked her is I said, before you make your decision, can I get you to commit to a 30-minute meeting with me? And the only reason why I'm asking for this is I promise you that 30 minutes with me will be the most valuable part of this entire process. And by not meeting with me, you risk losing something. You have something to lose. I got her attention. And right now, she's agreed to she gave me all of her information last night over the phone. I'm working on a total cost analysis today, just budgeting. And I will get that meeting with her, and I'll have a greater chance at closing that deal because I went in there with that confidence. So that's my 2 cents around that. I think it was a great example from Josh.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's close out with a couple thoughts. I love this quote from the founder of Zillow where he talks about the agent of the future is a coach and advisor. And and I want to close out on it. It's really about mindset. Do you believe that you are the captain of the wealth team? And by the way, you can only believe that if you are executing well. Are you delivering advice at the point of sale in a way that's truly unique and valuable? So, I mean, if you're only doing a total cost analysis on some borrowers, but not others, you're not going to, one, be as good at it as you would be if every single family got your advice-based experience. And two, you're not going to be as confident. Like, I crush it. Like Dan was able to say that to that family because he knows that a meeting with him is truly valuable. Whether they did the loan with him or not, he knows that he's going to give them a total cost analysis. He knows that he's going to drill down to what are their hopes, dreams, and goals. And at a minimum, they should just meet with him. And he knows that in his heart of his heart. And so he's able to show up that way. So I just, as we close out this call, I think it's super important to close it out around the concept of mindset is everything. Hopefully you start working on that. I don't expect like this phone call, especially with all the tech kind of disruptions that we had. I apologize to everybody. I brought in some folks that were not in front of their desk, and between the internet and the movement, not the easiest of the Tuesday calls to tune into. But Craig said something really smart that I hope sinks in. The concept that we are so well positioned to be the captain of the wealth team, both from a branding perspective, from a lead management standpoint. And then Dan Keller, closes it out with, we are so well positioned to be the most valuable advisors to that family. But you do need to execute. You need to come to, if you don't know how to deliver a total cost analysis, we have live training every day of the week. You need to come to some of those live trainings so that you can learn how to do it. And by the way, you just need to do it. You need to create a TCA. So Dan, in these last couple minutes, think of yourself as a sales manager. And I have to guess that whether people are watching this live or whether they're watching the recording, there's some people that either haven't created a TCA or they haven't created them to where they're really competent and good at it. What are some words of advice to get them to where they can really create a TCA at a high level and do it easy and fast?
Yeah, I mean, you guys make it super easy. I mean, I got to go back to when I bought your software way back in, 2010, 2011. You just got to jump in, do a couple of trainings, and then, leverage the MortgageCoach staff, and then practice, man. Just start making them. Make one for yourself. If you have a house right now, do one for your own refinance. Practice on yourself. But it's just repetition. I've got to the point where I still create my TCAs, but I've got my loan partner where I've coached and trained him on them. Now he preps them all for me. I have every single loan rep in my office using TCAs. I don't even care if they don't have enough money right now and they can't invest, they're using mine. But I'm teaching them. I do a training on it in my office. So you just got to jump in. You got to start. I will tell you this. I would say I'm a veteran at this point using MortgageCoach. It has changed how I present mortgage options to my clients. My realtor partners love it. And I wish over the years I would have tallied and tracked all the deals that had either helped me convert or save, but it's in the hundreds, Dave. It literally is in the hundreds. So I would encourage you to invest. And guys, right now, my parting words, Tim Davis said this the other day on social media, and I love this, and I've been preaching it to my staff. Right now in this market, the strong are getting stronger. The best are getting better. Use this technology to empower yourself going into 2019. That's my best advice.
I love it. I love it. So by the way, Alan White, thanks for the candidate. He just made a comment that said, Dave, this has been great. But could you do a 15-minute video with the takeaways? Because between Craig's sound and some of the tech challenges, it's like he gets the value of today's 1 hour call, but it was just rough to listen to it. So Alan, you're right on. I get it, buddy, and align with you. And I will do a debrief to Sales Mastery. It's next week. And I'll recapture the content in today's call, whether it's with Craig and Dan or however I do it, and try to, really emphasize this message and make it 15, 20 minutes. So all in all, though, I'm proud of this call. I mean, we had Craig selling, the number one, what I call new media leader in the mortgage and real estate space. So we had a monster on the call, and we had Dan Keller, who I consider, if not the best, one of the best loan officers in the country, leveraging media, building brand, and delivering advice. So Dan, I appreciate you being here, buddy. We're going to wrap up today's call. Thank you for everybody that hung on and listened to it. And we'll see many of you on our Friday mastermind. Just a reminder, every single Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're doing a live mastermind. Also, I am going to share my screen for the very last time because we are wrapping up today's call. But I just want to remind you guys that the Mortgage Coach Mastermind Group, I mean, it's just killing it. I mean, the quality of the people in this call and the quality of the content, so proud of it. There was someone came in and asked, hey, if I'm a new loan officer, where do I get started? The quality of the comments are incredible. Coach Bill Hart this morning asked people, what are they doing to finish Q4 strong? Dan Keller kicked it off with a great comment. I haven't even looked at it, but we've already got 3 comments. I'm sure we'll have a bunch more. This one, new loan officers, what do you do to get started? We've got 13 comments. And by the way, the comments and the quality of the insight that's coming in is just exceptional. I mean, some of the best advice you could get in the mortgage industry is taking place in this community. So if you're not active in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind Group, get active today. This call is a wrap. Take care, everybody.